testosterone replacement therapy and therefore optimization of testosterone levels via exogenous testosterone maybe is not a concept or a treatment that should just be reserved for those who are in dire need. And I believe that testosterone replacement therapy in this context is more of a human engineering intervention. What I want to talk about today is whether people need versus whether people can benefit from TRT. And I think these are two kind of different discussions that can lead some people astray. It can create some, I'm not going to use the word misinformation because that was a propaganda term, but it creates some incorrect guidance and some misleading dichotomies around the concept of interventional endocrinology. So, firstly, I think that testosterone replacement therapy and therefore optimization of testosterone levels via exogenous testosterone, meaning taking external testosterone in a dose or in an amount that equates to not just replacing your problematic levels, but creating the optimal levels that they should have been all along, maybe is not a concept or a treatment that should just be reserved for those who are in dire need. And I believe that testosterone replacement therapy in this context is more of a human engineering intervention than a traditional sick care Western medical intervention. And I will explain why that is. There are many forms of healthcare, and I don't know if cosmetic surgery technically counts as healthcare, but I think it falls under that umbrella, that people can elect to do. If someone has severe burns to their entire face, plastic surgery and facial reconstruction is necessitated, whether it's to allow them to breathe or have an appearance that resembles, any degree of what they looked like before. This is a medically necessitated intervention due to a catastrophic incident. But people can also have elective facial reconstruction surgery if they want to. If you have born with a big crooked nose or you have a big mole on your face or something like that, you can elect to have that removed or fixed or changed or whatever. If you decide and your doctor agrees that it would improve your quality of life and the rewards outweigh the risks in the risk to reward analysis. I think that when it comes to, I'm going to rephrase that. I know from experience, both personally for almost a decade as someone who initiated testosterone replacement therapy in their mid-20s, back before a lot of people even knew what it was. I know that the outcomes of optimizing testosterone levels have far-reaching beneficial effects, not consequences, but effects on the entire trajectory of a man's life from the day that he starts therapy. And therefore, I also advocate TRT as an elective medical intervention for those who believe that testosterone replacement therapy will improve the quality of their life. But because testosterone replacement therapy is highly invasive, I think that this is a decision that people shouldn't take lightly and must make informed consent around doing. But I don't think that's a reason not to pull the trigger. I think it is a reason to pull the trigger only with intention, only with the right guidance, only with the right expectations, but with a full understanding of what this could look like as a long-term therapy and health intervention that people are going to be making for the rest of their lives. Now, one of the consequences of going on TRT is you now have to look after yourself well and get regular blood work. Oh no, what a shame. What a devastating, horrible thing that you will have to do. This will only have negative consequences on your life. No, this is a good thing because now you're forced to take some responsibility for looking after yourself. Sounds good. Some people think that if you go on TRT, it just means, oh, well, my testosterone's now covered, so I can sleep like crap, drink a bunch of booze, party, eat like shit, and I don't have to worry about my body not making enough testosterone. That's like saying I bought a Lamborghini, so I don't need to learn how to drive because it goes so fast and it's a super powerful car. Like, wrong. I don't have to service my car because it's a really good car. Wrong. You have to service it better. Sorry. But the story in which I would like to talk about this with, because I was listening to a podcast the other day and it raised a very good point, which is that sometimes people don't want to hear the solution. They want to hear more about a problem they can identify with. Because not everyone is at the solution stage of their journey with understanding what's going on with the problem that they're facing. And I can completely relate to that. When I was in my mid-20s, for people who aren't aware of my backstory, I woke up one day with severe vestibular neuritis, which is inflammation of the vestibular nerve in my right ear. I had debilitating vertigo for many years. It was undiagnosed. I was told by every medical practitioner that I would never recover. And if it wasn't for turning to testosterone replacement therapy out of desperation at the time, I wouldn't have had the discipline, the mental resolve, the fortitude and the resiliency to stress to be able to get through the rehabilitation that I suffered through for many, many, many months before I even made an inch of progress. And in coming through that experience and coming out of it stronger, coming out of it able to build a life that I am now very, very proud to live and have recovered completely from this incurable thing, I can honestly say that that circumstance in my life was the best thing that happened to me because it was a catalyst for so much challenging transformational change. It wouldn't have been that were it not for testosterone replacement therapy. It would have brought me to my knees and then brought me further down beyond that, and I would not have made it through.
If you've just started TRT, it is completely normal to feel overwhelmed and confused. There's a lot of new territory to cover, and there is a lot of conflicting information. I wrote TRT 101 so that you can have everything that you need to know in an instruction manual in one place that you can refer back to, that you can have all the questions answered before they even come up. TRT 101 is my best practice approach for TRT from start to finish, and it contains everything that you need to avoid all the challenges and pitfalls that I've seen come up in my clients over the last 5 years. You can check it out by the link below.
Now, not everyone is in a situation where they're given a terminal diagnosis for a disability, but people are in situations in their life where they are off track and they know they're off track. And while it is not, in my opinion, beneficial to rely on an exogenous substance to correct the discourse of one's life, the thing that we also must take into consideration, which many people don't in the way that hypogonadism is traditionally discussed and diagnosed, is that many of us, particularly under the age of 35, I'm 32, but also under the age of 40, I would argue, just to a lesser extent as people are getting older, have been negatively affected by environmental factors which have reduced our capacity to produce optimal testosterone levels. We know from a lot of data and also just opening our eyes and just looking around that young men these days do not have the same levels of testosterone that their grandfathers had at their age. We know from science that young men have the same levels as their grandfathers do as grandfathers. The average 20-year-old has the same testosterone level as the average 60 or 70-year-old. This is a big problem. This is a huge problem. And it's not just going back to the facial surgery thing. It's not just a cosmetic thing. It's not just a shoulder to waist ratio. It's not just the capacity to build muscle in the gym or increase your 1 rep max on bench. Testosterone impacts every aspect of a male's biology, including his psychology, his mental health, his ability to produce the right neurotransmitters, his ability to biologically respond to stress, his immune system, his ability to retain muscle, his ability to retain bone mineral density, his ability to target and partition nutrients properly in the body. All of these things are impacted by testosterone. And I learned this when I was at university doing biomedical science. One of the reasons I dropped out of psychiatry was I realized that hormone dysfunction was a huge underlying factor in mental health issues. And drugging people with psychiatric medications for a hormone deficiency doesn't solve the problem. If anything, it can make it worse. So if you're in a situation listening to this and you may not be at the point that you can't get out of bed because your testosterone levels are geriatric, meaning that they're that of a old and feeble man. But you're in a situation in your life where you know that you're not thriving when you probably should be based on your inputs and outputs. I think it is worth considering and having an informed discussion with someone who advocates for your best interest, whether augmenting your testosterone levels and doubling or tripling your testosterone levels will not only lead to better subjective outcomes, but also better objective outcomes in where your life's trajectory will end up. Also, testosterone is incredibly preventative for the diseases of aging when it's done properly. One of the fantastic things about testosterone replacement therapy, when it's done right and people know what they're actually doing, which if you're in America, you should absolutely be treated by Victory Men's Health because they know what they're doing. Very few people in the industry do, which is a topic of conversations that I have covered extensively, is that people actually get healthier when you improve their testosterone levels. Now, if you go and do a massive steroid cycle, you'll destroy your organs. We know that. Everyone knows that. Some people are in denial about that, but everyone knows that deep down. But when you optimize the testosterone levels to the upper end of what a male should have for his natural physiology, all biometric markers improve, so long as the patient is actually living a healthy lifestyle. All blood markers improve. So if someone is saying, I feel way better, and all their blood markers improve, all their inflammatory markers go down, or their metabolic markers improve, their sleep improves, their relationships improve, their ability to generate income improves, their stress reduces, their energy improves, and therefore their exercise regime improves. They feel better at the end of the day, so they don't make short-term bad decisions to make themselves feel better in the moment, such as alcohol and drugs. When you map this out over multiple years or even decades, the timelines, if we have two split timelines, kind of like a Marvel multiverse, of someone who optimized their testosterone levels versus someone who didn't, who would have benefited from it, we only get one shot at this. And if this can be an intervention that people will take on with responsibility and have the capacity to live a much better and more fulfilling life, if an intervention is to be made, it's hard to argue that there's a better one out there. Now, I'm not saying that everyone listening to this should go on TRT, but I'm saying that if people are watching this and they're looking to intervene in their health and they're looking to use a medical intervention to improve the outcomes of their life, I would be picking one that has side benefits, not side effects. And testosterone replacement therapy, although it does come with the drawback of dependency, it does come with the drawback of shutting down your body's natural production. You are shutting down the production of something that wasn't working properly and replacing it with something that does work. There is a degree of responsibility there, absolutely. Is it a perfect intervention? No. Ideally, we'd just be able to create those levels naturally. But if people can't, then the question is, should they do it via external means? So what kind of level on paper are people going to be looking at where they'd be saying, well, the juice would be worth the squeeze? It would be worth taking something externally to improve and optimize these levels. And this is a difficult question to answer, and it's not a straightforward one. And if people do say, if it's above this number, you don't need it, and if it's below this number, then you do need it, they're oversimplifying a problem, and they're also creating an arbitrary definition that creates more problems than it solves. Because we can't measure androgen receptor availability. We don't know how well that testosterone is working in your body. We don't know if that's enough testosterone for you versus if you would benefit from double. And this is why it's important to have comprehensive blood work done, but also an evaluation of symptoms, and to assess whether the individual feels less than optimal because of how they're looking after themselves and how they're living, because some people feel exactly the way that they're supposed to feel based on their inputs and outputs. If you're eating like shit, and if you're sleeping like shit, and if you're treating yourself like shit, the outcome is shit. And it's supposed to be, because that's what you deserve. That's the way the human body works. But if you're looking after yourself well, or if you're doing your best, and your results don't match what they should, and your testosterone levels are suboptimal, average, and average these days is a problem because most people walking around, especially in America, but if not the world, most adult men as a majority have suboptimal testosterone levels, then you may be in a situation where it is worth making that intervention. So if you've run your blood tests, or you're looking to run your blood tests, and your testosterone levels are not in the upper quartile of the range, this is a discussion that should be had. It's not something that you definitely need it and should pull the trigger, but it's a discussion that you should have. Now, I'm referencing the range rather than numbers because there are so many different units of measurement and the range is moving around all the time. The bottom half of the range these days, because the range is so low, it is a calculated average and standard deviation of the average X amount of men who've recently had their testosterone levels checked, who are mainly older men with prostate issues. The bottom half of the range is hypogonadal for most people. And that's a problem because you're getting your blood test, it's showing your testosterone level should be between X and Y, and you're between X and Y, and therefore your testosterone levels are normal. That's not what the blood test is actually saying. It may be what it says on paper if you look at it at a surface level, but that's not the actual information that it's communicating. So if your testosterone levels are not robust, you should initiate a conversation with someone who knows what they're doing. If you're in America, Victory Men's Health. If you're in Australia, you can work with My Clinic Primal Zone. If you're in Europe, TRT Baltic. Otherwise, you can go on my website. You can download my free FAQ where I have my list of endorsed practitioners at the back of the ebook. Find someone who has your best interest at heart. Find someone who you can actually have an informed conversation with. If you want to learn more about this so that you know what you're getting in for, watch my TRT Masterclass, listen to all my podcasts here on the Victory Men's Health channel, or download my TRT 101 ebook that you can use as an instruction manual. All that information is there for you. It's not there to be spoon-fed for you like an airplane into your mouth as a baby. It is there for you to learn. It is there for you to be able to make an informed decision. It is there for you to be able to seek out someone who knows what they're doing to be able to take the lead on making this intervention if you believe it would be in your best interest. All the information is there for you. Use it, learn it, seek it out. And if you think that this is something that would benefit you, have the conversation because it may be the thing that changes your life, saves your life, improves your life beyond any other intervention or pill you can buy from Amazon or iHerb or anything else you can get from the pharmacy. Testosterone is the most powerful intervention that men can make to improve their mental and physical health, as well as the outcomes of their life. So I hope you found that useful, and I will see you all on the next show.
Stop doing all the things you know you shouldn't be doing and start doing all the things you know you should be doing. If people are looking for where to start, it's that. Testosterone is what creates confidence. It's what gives the capacity for leadership. It's what drives the ability for one to become courageous and competent in their skill set. If you go on TRT and then live a lifestyle that you would never have those levels in the first place, your blood's going to get really